let's talk about Coinbase for a minute because it's a pretty major story, right? Coinbase is now in the S&P 500.
Woohoo!
And it's not just asset 499 on the list. It already is at something like 150 on the list, the 150th biggest by market cap. So yeah, pretty huge news, pretty big signal that crypto is here to stay. And as has been mentioned many times, what this means is that everyone who passively invests in the stock market, which is like everyone, so all the index funds, your 401k, you now have exposure to Coinbase, the crypto company.
Pretty wild to think about. Yeah.
When it starts, which I think is actually tomorrow in the US.
Yeah, passive investment. So mechanically speaking, lots of people are gonna be buying Coinbase, fractions of Coinbase shares. It's probably just the first of at least several companies that are going to be included in the S&P 500. Wasn't Strategy vying for this as well for a while? So I mean, if that would be wild if that
Strategy's in the NASDAQ.
But I think it was they're trying to talking about that, but a big kind of symbolic move, I think, to be kind of included in the big boy club like that.
Yep.
And good congratulations to Coinbase. I think probably the best crypto company to represent us. But speaking of which, even the best of us has hard days. And last week also, Coinbase had a very high and a low. So Coinbase revealed a data breach involving bribed overseas support agents who leaked user info. Coinbase claims that no funds were stolen, but lots of sensitive personal data was accessed and stolen. Coinbase rejected a $20 million extortion attempt and instead launched a $20 million reward fund to catch the attackers. They have initially set aside, or they've publicly announced, between $180 to $400 million financial hit. Some of that will be used to compensate users who have been scammed afterwards. And if you go on Twitter or X, you can see people claiming to have had phishing attacks against them. So it's pretty wild.
The phishing attack thing is pretty out of control in crypto. However, I would say that I don't think this data breach is like a big problem for Coinbase. I don't think it really overshadows their getting into the S&P 500. I think it's sort of par for the course these days. Big companies have data breaches, and like everyone just expects that, sadly.
Yeah, but I mean, I think crypto companies are a particularly juicy target because they are pretty censorship resistant, and once you take the crypto, you really have a lot of trouble getting them back, right?
Yeah,
and
if you can scam someone into sending you crypto, then that's it. You're done.
Yeah. Or God forbid, you're able to breach the centralized entity itself, right? The true honeypot, right? Like Bybit experience. So it is wild, though, that I think after Bybit, I think that was, for me and for people in the industry, the first big wake-up call in several years, that here is one of the best companies who have executed at the highest level, and they got hit hard. And here you have Coinbase, who is, I would say, number one in this, right? And they also just got exploited. So really, every other company in the space needs to be paying attention and spending more money and time on OPSEC, right? Like, it has to be the case. If Coinbase, this happens to Coinbase, I seriously think it can happen to anybody.
And I mean, in this case, it's supposedly a support agent was bribed, but I guess that begs the question of, like, why did the support agent have access to, like, unencrypted customer information that they could take a bribe and send that to the attackers?